Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico bed and breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org. Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Second Thursday New Mexico show. On this show, we talk about travel, food, events, lodgings, activities, and we're chatting with innkeepers who belong to the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. This is definitely a place you want to go to. Go to NMBBA for New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. So nmbba.org to find your bed and breakfast lodging. And bed and breakfast rock because the innkeepers know what is going on in their community. They can point you out to the right direction. It is a true experience when it comes to a stay, and we're very excited to be hosting this show every second Thursday, like I was saying. So keep up with us at bigblendradio.com for that. Today, we're going to be talking about fall in New Mexico. And believe it or not, New Mexico has fall colors. It really does. You're in the Southwest for sure. The temperatures drop down a little bit. It's a beautiful time of year. The birds are migrating. There's all kinds of festivals. So we're very excited to have Steve Hiatt back on the show. Him and his wife, Kathy, own and run Botker Mansion of Old Town in Albuquerque. So you can go to botker.com. Also, we have Dan Clark, who's been on our show a couple years ago. He owns Inn of the Turquoise Bear in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And you can go to turquoisebear.com. But welcome back, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you all?
Doing good, doing good. Excited because are we ready for fall? I mean, it's a little swampy where we are now. I just want to know, are you guys feeling ready for fall weather?
I think so. It's starting to cool off now. But another month, it's going to be really nice here, particularly up north.
Ah, nice. And welcome back, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to be back, Lisa and Nancy.
Hey, it's just fantastic. I saw that you've got the turquoise bear like planted at the entrance of the B&B, like the sculpture, right? You've got a new sculpture?
We have a new sculpture, yes, by Jeffy Brewer from Texas. Worked with him for over a year to get a contemporary sculpture. So now when people visit the inn and say, so where's the turquoise bear? I can just point to it.
Yes. Oh, awesome.
I really want to talk about this. I know we're going to talk about fall, but I want to talk about the importance of a bed and breakfast stay. You know, we can go get vacation rentals, hotel rooms, you can go camp, but there's something very special. Nancy and I, over the last 2 years, stayed in over 30 bed and breakfasts.
Yes.
And we've done bed and breakfasts before, and we've talked about this, I know, with both of you on the show before, but it's different. It's not it's not your grandma's house, you know, it's changed.
It's really changed.
I think it's such a personalized experience. Everyone traveling, I don't care what age you are, travel-wise, wants an authentic experience. And I think that's something when we talk about like the turquoise bear, Dan, your bed and breakfast, the history, and I want to go into yours because Steve, you guys have some crazy history too. History is part of this experience, not just the personalized experience, but staying at like the Turquoise Inn. I mean, that's got to be, you're staying in history where, I mean, Santa Fe has like the literary landmark tour, and you guys, are you part of that because of the history of the inn?
We are actually, yes. Yeah.
Tell everybody a little background of the inn's history, because it's pretty cool.
Well, the inn occupies the historic home of Witter Benner, who was a poet and really kind of created what was the Great Gatsby house of the West Coast. He purchased two small 3-bedroom homes that date back to 1800, and then expanded the estate on buying 8 different pieces of land to build the current estate, and expanded it. And now we have 9 guest rooms with 20 capacity for 20 people. But back in the day, when I say it was the Great Gatsby house, it had guests who were his friends, like George O'Keeffe, of course, Ansel Adams,
Cool.
Edna St. Vincent Millay, Willa Cather, the list goes on and on. We still have a lot of visitors who come because of the historic nature of the house. It's kind of iconic Santa Fe lodging. Photos ranked the Inn of the Turquoise Bear #2 in historic lodging in Santa Fe,
Wow.
second only to La Fonda, the old Harvey House
Oh, wow.
hotel
Yeah,
right on
yeah.
the plaza. So we're in really good company amongst a very historic town.
That's
Mm.
cool.
In Santa Fe, the capital, you have, I mean,
Mm.
the art in Santa Fe is incredible. The art, the literature, natural beauty.
This
And
is
going
so
over to
pretty.
you, Steve, the Bodker Mansion, give everyone a little overview of this because you're, again, sleeping in history right off Route 6. And I stayed in the Route 66 room. It was cool.
Did.
Yeah.
Well, the Bottker was built in 1912 by Charles Bottker. He had struck it rich in the Manzanos and discovered a silver mine. And so he took that money and built, one of the things he did with it was built this building on the site of a hacienda that had been here for about 100 years and was the residence of the Mexican governor of New Mexico at the time. From that point on, the Bottker has been a family residence. It's had a grocery store in it. It's had jewelry stores in it. At one time, it was a commune. Machine Gun
Wow.
Kelly supposedly stayed here. So
Cool.
we've had lots of stuff going on, and we are on Route 66. So it is a pretty iconic building. It was also at the centennial of statehood for New Mexico. It was identified as one of the few buildings in New Mexico that still looks like it did when it was built in 1912.
Oh,
That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I
That's
think this is so important. I know, this is our show with you guys with the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. And I just want to say it's like, that's the importance. I mean, I think a lot of people may get Airbnb confused or VRBO, and I'm not knocking them, that they're great sites and great platforms and people like vacation rentals, but it has changed so much with a bed and breakfast experience. And this is a different thing. So it is different than a vacation rental. So Steve, do you ever get someone thinking that you're an Airbnb?
All the time.
Okay, so there's a
but you know,
difference.
but it is different. But the problem is Airbnb took the name B&B.
Okay.
Yes.
And they capitalized on that. So there's been a lot of confusion in the industry and for people about what a real bed and breakfast is. A real bed and breakfast is going to serve breakfast for one thing. It's hosted. The owners or the innkeepers are there on site to take care of you. You get a fabulous breakfast every morning. And the knowledge of the innkeeper about the area. The other thing too about a bed and breakfast is most bed and breakfasts are in historic homes or historic buildings. And by patronizing a bed and breakfast in a historic building, you're helping keep that history alive. And what would that building be if it wasn't a bed and breakfast? Most are much too big to be a house, or I mean not a house, but a family home. So you have to wonder what they would become. So what we're doing is we're actually preserving history by running these bed and breakfasts.
Dan, anything to add to that as being an innkeeper and the turquoise? And I mean, the turquoise bear. You got the turquoise bear. I love that. Well, it makes sense for New Mexico because of turquoise. You've got the turquoise museum not far from you, Steve.
That's
But
right.
Bears and turquoise go well in New Mexico.
Turquoise is mined locally, or was in New Mexico for many years, and it's a sacred color and stone to Native Americans. So that was part of the original naming of the inn, of our inn. I will say on the Airbnb front, we call it Airb because that's really what they're selling is the first B, not the second. And I've had a number of people, I don't get people confused that we're a Airbnb. I do have some first time bed and breakfast stays who found us through Airbnb. I use them as an advertising source. And they do. I overhear them at the breakfast table saying, if we get this kind of service and amenities and a beautiful breakfast and snacks and local knowledge from an actual B&B, why am I staying at an Airbnb? Because again, that extra service is air. That's really kind of all you're getting there. So,
That's a good one.
It's a great option. It's a great option for people looking to rent a whole house. But again, it's not really any different than any other vacation rental. And so I understand the value of it. If you want local secrets and insights and outstanding service and food, really customized to you relative to the authentic locale that you're visiting, you need to go to a real B&B, not an Airbnb.
That's right.
You know, I think it's really true. And I mean, we've done both as we travel. And yeah, like you're saying, one is, but I know bed and breakfast, like we're going to one in Asheville, our friends, where we innkeep. Don't even ever,
It's so much fun.
I mean, I don't know how we got into this, but once a year we are innkeepers. But but it has taught us so much about how hard you work.
And
yes, it's taught me so much about what travelers want and need, and you better know it. And you are on call 24/7. I don't care. It's like, I'm sorry, but you need to sleep in your underclothes. Like, I'm just saying, there's like, it's a call. You are on call. And my appreciation for innkeepers is like jumped. I mean, we did the 30 B&Bs, but then becoming innkeepers, we were like, holy cow, you have to serve on target. You have to, like, you need to know. And people are asking me opinions. I'm like, and at 10 at night, hey, we need a phone charger. And I'm like, okay, we've got a drawer somewhere. You know, there's all these little things. And just the customer service, the appreciation, it is massive when you experience a place and you can come back and say, hey, you know, I went downtown Santa Fe and I thought this museum was open. And if I had talked to you at breakfast, you would have said, hey, this museum is not open on a Monday. Right. And so, and I've had, you would say, hey, but this is going to be open. This is where you need to go. And hey, don't photograph people at the governor's palace without asking
because
permission.
you get in trouble.
See? So if you were at the B&B, they would have told you like these things in a really nice way. And I think you guys are like mini visitor bureaus, welcome centers, and you curate people's trips more than what you can do on Google, the internet. I mean, we provide content as much as you can provide content, but when you sit down with an innkeeper at breakfast and they start saying, oh no, don't take this road. Oh yeah, if you want to go to Bandelier, you better take the shuttle at this year, right? So you guys really have it. And so I love this show because we get to promote this, and it's small business too, and it's saving historic properties.
And B&Bs are drastically different than 20, 30 years ago. I mean, they really are. I mean, we used to call them the dusted doily places because pretty much
you have to say doily, Nancy. You were dying to say
I have to say it because that's what well, it was, you know, and then, you know,
there's still doilies in B&Bs, but there's a whole different way of them.
Not in ours.
And you got prunes for breakfast.
No, I know. No, we don't want the prune. No, but listen. Now the breakfast is authentic to, do you serve prunes, Dan?
No, but I will just say, you know, it is changing. I would say at least 1/3 of our guests are 30 years of age or younger.
Wow.
It's true.
That's different.
Yeah.
People talk about millennials wanting an authentic experience, something local and unique, and they're turning to B&Bs. They're not going to local hotels.
We're seeing the
B&Bs.
We've seen so many first timers, B&B people,
and
single people on their own. You know, women and men on their own going in a place where they feel comfortable to travel. And we saw that even during COVID. I mean, bed and breakfast all together. I know that's where we met you, Dan, with the Still in Business campaign. I mean, B&Bs did everything they could to stay open, keep everyone safe. And we saw people that had never even really ventured out before, traveling, not just to a B&B, but traveling for the first time on their own, which I thought was extremely exciting because
Well,
B&B
yeah.
people know how to take care of someone starting for the first time.
Well,
you know?
especially if you're a female or woman traveling on your own, it is
Mhm.
so much better to go to a B&B than it is a hotel. Nothing against hotels, but you have to
Mhm.
really know a lot more about where you're going if you're going to stay in a hotel.
Mhm.
You got to research the street, the neighborhood. You really do.
So today we want to talk about fall travel in New Mexico. And I mentioned look, see that picture behind us? For those who are listening, sorry you can't see it, but you will at some point. There's fall colors in New Mexico. This is true. This is not a joke. You have
Right.
fall colors.
We
And
do.
Mhm.
Steve,
Yeah.
Very
in
much
Albuquerque,
so.
do you get them?
Oh, absolutely. Later than the rest of the state. I mean, the color starts from the Colorado border and works its way down, and it's also guided by elevation. You have to remember that New Mexico, on average, has the highest average elevation in the country. And I know that sounds weird and strange.
I know.
but
I'm
it's
like, what?
true. The lowest point in New Mexico is just under 3,000 feet.
Wow.
And when you start going north, you're getting into 11, 12,000 foot peaks. And the colors are just amazing. For instance, if you're up in Chama during the fall, you can take the train, the Cumbres and Toltec train, that goes from Chama all the way up to up into Colorado, and
Whoa.
amazing color all the way. And besides being a historic train, it's just a great experience.
Wow. that
That's
sounds
amazing.
cool.
What about in Santa Fe, Dan? Because I know the Santa Fe National Forest, I think when we first talked to you, we were still like giddy about going to the forest.
You
It was
were.
so pristine.
Mhm.
And I still keep looking at it going like, that is like one of the most pristine forests we've ever been to. And it's
Absolutely.
right out of, I mean, it's 10 miles outside of downtown Santa Fe. And I know ski
Mhm.
season comes, but what's it like in the fall?
Well, it's beautiful. Actually, it's a wonderful time to visit. Our big weekend art markets in Santa Fe, our music festivals, the opera have all finished their seasons. So it's a great time to come and visit because you have less people in town, but still plenty of people, but you're not vying for restaurant slots.
Mm.
It starts to get a little cooler in September. We're still in our mid 70s and maybe lows
That's
in the mid
nice.
40s. And in October, it's mid 60s to mid 30s, but it's always sunny. It's always kind of dry, typically. And New Mexico or Santa Fe has one of the largest aspen stands in the
Yes.
country. And as Steve said, because we're in northern New Mexico, our aspens tend to peak sometimes as early as mid-September. With a lot of moisture that we've had this year, it might be a little closer into October, but from town or heading quickly, as you know, up into the mountains, you can be completely immersed in the aspen forests. And it's just an amazing experience. And Ski Santa Fe, because it's a ski town, has programs most weeks in the autumn, September and October, where you can ride one of the chairlifts up to the top of a mountain, hike back down if you like, or just take the scenic round trip. But it's a great
Wow.
time to visit. It's beautiful weather, less people, and it's a beautiful leaf peeping for aspens in particular.
How
See, I think
nice.
this is something people don't think about will happen in the Southwest. You know what I mean?
And one of the things
Yeah.
about the aspens in Santa Fe, I just want to, is when you're driving into Santa Fe from Albuquerque and you get up to La Bajada, the top of La Bajada Hill, which is the pass between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, that aspen grove is huge. And you can see that vibrant gold
Mm,
from
nice.
30 miles away.
Mm.
It is truly amazing. Every time I
Wow.
go up to Santa Fe in October, and you just get chills looking at those trees. It is that beautiful.
It's always, Santa Fe, was always listed as one of the top 5, 10 places in the US to see aspens and to experience aspens. Because as you know, Lisa and Nancy, you can just, it's a 10-minute trip from the center of Santa Fe or from any of our inns or properties to head up and be right in the middle of an aspen forest.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do, it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing about fall is also the bird migrations are all happening
Sure.
at this
Yes.
time. It's one of the best. And I think, Steve, you've got a good place near you that you can pronounce better than me.
Well, anywhere along the Rio Grande, the sandhill cranes start coming in mid-November. And the largest flocks are in the Bosque del Apache, south of Socorro. And there they have the Crane Festival in mid-November to welcome them back. And at that, it's a national wildlife refuge, and you can see more birds than you can imagine that migrate and winter there, as well as fox, coyote, deer, everything is down there. But even in Albuquerque, we have flocks of sandhill cranes that live here during the winter as well.
Wow.
So I've always seen the cranes. And then,
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Do they go to
That's
Tingley
nice.
Beach ever? I know that's not far from you, but I thought that was quite an impressive community park,
It is, but they're not there. The city of Albuquerque actually has the open space, and a lot of farmers actually have fields of corn that they actually knock down for the cranes to come in and eat at. And they also come in after the fields have been harvested. They'll come in and graze there, as well as geese. We have Canada geese and ducks and all sorts of wildlife coming in.
So it's Canada geese. They're not Canadian geese because they didn't get their passport stamped.
That's right.
That's what I heard. Oh no. Now, okay. So what about also, like, when you think about fall, that also brings up the Day of the Dead. Those festivals have got to be at the top of the list for people going in New Mexico. I know when we lived in Tucson, that was the Day of the Dead festival was, I'll never forget it. It was like a life experience to go to these festivals, and really we got the whole makeup thing on. We looked better. I think the band members of KISS would be pretty impressed with how we looked for that day. It was the best we've ever looked. I swear, it's the best makeup. But really, the Day of the Dead festivities. I know Silver City has an event out in Southwest New Mexico, probably Las Cruces too. But in your areas, Taos has got to do it too. You guys have to be busy over that time.
It's a busy time. Albuquerque actually does something fun with the Day of the Dead. We have a bicycle ride. It's called Day of the Tread.
Oh, that's cool.
Bicycle, get it? Yeah. And it's a century ride with a bunch of others. But they have some fun rides, 5 to 15 miles, and everybody gets dressed up.
Oh, that's fun.
Costume and the Day of the Dead vibe. And it's a lot of fun. And it's right here in near the Vodka in Old Town. Yeah.
So
cool.
they
So you can just sit outside and watch.
Do they ride their bikes dressed up?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And some
Oh,
people
how
even
much
ride
fun
the
is
century
that?
dressed up. I don't get that.
Oh, I want to do it with a penny farthington. You wear the big wheel at the front and the tiny ones at the back.
There you go.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
that's epic. Dan, what
that'd be
happens
so
in
cool.
Santa Fe? Don't you guys have festivals and parades?
We have lots of them. As I mentioned, some of the big summer festivals are finishing up. And in September, Labor Day weekend always kicks off with the burning of Zozobra, our burning of our 50-foot marionette, which is the man of gloom. And there's 35,000 people chanting to burn him. It's a wonderful local custom that it's primarily local, but lots of visitors come and experience it. It's a precursor to Burning Man. Burning Man organizers got the idea. It's in its 98th year. And literally residents for months put all of their regrets into boxes around town, and they go into Zozobra and they get burned the Friday of Labor Day.
Wow.
And that kicks off the Fiestas de Santa Fe, which is a week-long celebration of Spanish heritage here in town. We have a lot of our local art tours start happening, like the Santa Fe tour, the High Road tour between Santa Fe and Taos. All the art galleries have a tour the second or the third and fourth weekend in September. So a lot of the local art markets start to really showcase their art rather than just the 300 galleries that are in town.
Just
And then towards the end of
Wow.
September, one large event we have, which is a culinary event, is the Santa Fe Wine and Chili Fiesta. It actually
Nice.
brings together over 90 wineries from around the world with
Wow.
45 or so of Santa Fe's top restaurants into a week-long culinary kind of experience of multiple events, everything from cooking workshops to seminars to grand tastings to just a simple dinner pairing a specific New Mexico culinary food, is featuring chili often with a wine from around the world. So it's a great event, and that happens the
Wow.
22nd through the 26th.
Cool.
that's
September.
cool. That's
I
amazing. So
like that.
September gets really busy and then it just keeps going and going. So, and
It
the
is very
chilies, I
busy.
love that you talk about wine and chili because you
Yeah,
got to
it's
know
good.
your wine to pair it correctly with the chili so you
Mhm.
have that balance. That's a interesting. We actually just did a radio show on that with Peggy from Arizona. She was talking about, yeah, if you're going to have spice, you're going to have the right wine to balance that out. So that's a
Mhm.
cool event to go to just to learn that.
One of the key things I've learned since coming to New Mexico and owning an inn is every visitor, or so many visitors come for the first time to New Mexico and they want to experience Mexican restaurants. And I'm like, well, do you want Mexican or do you want New Mexican? Because they're two different things. New Mexican is widely regarded as a hybrid between Mexican and Native American. And of course, the New Mexico chili pepper is its own species of pepper. So it's a little odd because there are really great Mexican restaurants in Santa Fe and in New Mexico, and there are really great New Mexican restaurants, and they have similar foods, but they're not the same. And
Yeah.
locals, you'll get bitch slapped if you mention the wrong one.
With the chili pepper, and that can sting. That can
So
sting.
I
Well,
always try to.
And let's not even
Oh,
talk about
righty then.
Tex-Mex.
well,
That's
listen,
funny.
and well, you know what? We went on the Santa Fe food tour, New
Mhm.
Mexico food tour, and I
Oh,
think
that
he
was
does it,
fun.
Nick. I think it's Nick, and he does it also in Albuquerque. I don't know if he's still going, but that food tour opened our ears, and we were like, we wish we did it at the very beginning
It
of
was
our
really
visit
fun. Really
because
fun.
it was about the history. And when you think about New Mexico, the culture, I mean, New Mexico, true, we talk about that, right? It's about really keeping the authentic culture and the nature there. And it's
Mhm.
preserving this way of life for the environment, nature, and the people. And when you go on these food tours, you understand the history more than,
Mhm.
I mean, you can go to the museums and everything after and get it, but if you go and you taste the history and you understand the culture through food, you'll understand the history better. I think there's something about learning history through the belly. That's a good
Well,
way.
and the same thing with wine. New Mexico has the oldest wine country in the
Yeah.
US because the Spanish brought it here over 400 years ago.
Mm.
So, it has a huge tradition, both with the Native American and wine and the local, very specific New Mexican cuisine.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about what you're serving for breakfast in the fall. Steve, come on, let's talk. We got cornmeal pancakes. I know. I mean, do you have squash? Is it chilies? What's happening in the fall?
We start to transition to more fall flavors. Cranberries are featured quite a bit. And then our traditional green chili quiche, huevos rancheros.
By the way, it is delicious.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool about what we do is the idea that not only do we adjust seasonally, but we're always as innkeepers are looking at new things and new ways of doing things. I know Dan does a great job of looking at using ingredients in new ways and different ways. And we do as well, but and being able to do it seasonally. Right now, we're not quite into green chili season. It's starting. We're starting to see the roasters are out. If you're lucky, you'll get there when they're doing a little bit of roasting, so you get to smell it. But another 2-3 weeks, Santa Fe, it will be all over Santa Fe and Albuquerque and Taos and Farmington. The aroma, that's when you know it's fall in New Mexico, is when you start smelling the green chili.
What about pecans? Isn't that also a big deal for fall?
Well,
Maybe I'm just thinking of pecan
pecans,
pie on Thanksgiving. That's what it is.
what's interesting about pecans is that New Mexico is one of the largest pecan producers in the country.
Wow.
At any time, it could be the number 1 producer or the number 2 producer of pecans.
Wow.
It just all depends upon weather.
So you could just take a pecan pie recipe and just throw a little bit of chili in there.
Oh, absolutely. Or an apple.
Yeah.
Apple recipe. Oh, apple and green chili goes really well together.
Oh.
We
And
do
a little
waffles
chili.
with green chili compote.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hot chocolate with a little chili in there and a little
Mhm.
tequila. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Now we digress.
I have to say, right now, we are in our peak apricot season in Santa Fe.
Oh,
We have 3 apricot trees on our property, one which is thought to be over 120 years old. And so we're doing
Wow, that's special.
apricot tarts. We're canning apricot
Oh.
syrup. We do an apricot and green chili jam.
Ooh.
And baked dishes. So a lot of that, we're in our apricot season, but I'm looking forward, like Steve says, fall, we get into cranberries. It's always pumpkin. Friday is pie day at the end of the Turquoise Bear. We always do a pie on Friday or a tart right now.
Oh.
And we'll do a bourbon chocolate pecan chess pie and throw some red chili in it.
Oh, now you're talking my language.
Very tasty. We have some New Mexican dishes for our table. We alternate a sweet or savory entree each day. Every day, eggs made to order is an option, as well as huevos rancheros. We make our own red chili. It's a New Mexican chili. It's not a salsa huevos rancheros. It's a chili huevos rancheros, very spicy. But we do a couple different things. Of course, our blue corn pancakes with piñon and piñon butter. Red chili glazed bacon on the side. We do a green chili chicken sope with egg. It's another New Mexican dish. Or a green chili waffle with a shredded smoked pork and egg with tomatillo salsa.
I need to run right now. I need to go jogging right now. I can feel it.
So we're sitting here in a house where the owner left us some tomatillos, and we're looking at them and going, what do we do with them?
Actually, we went to the farmer's market. They've got we've got all these peppers and tomatillos, and we have no clue what we're doing.
An easy peasy thing you can do. We do a tomatillo salsa, or we do a tomatillo salsa, but we also do a tomatillo smoothie. Just throw them in a microwave or cook them or broil them for a little bit and put them with some pineapple, a little apple, maybe lime, and make a smoothie out of them. It's very good.
Put the lime in
But
the
you
coconut.
take that skinny off.
Take the
That
skin
little
off,
thing.
but you don't have to seed them. You just want to cook them a little bit so they're not so raw. We broil them. We actually put a little jalapeno in with it, but we do a tomatillo smoothie. We have a smoothie starter every morning at our inn. We have over 40 different smoothies.
Wow.
Wow.
Tomatillo pineapple is one of our regular summer smoothies.
So you're not getting this at an Airbnb. It's just not happening. This is not the same.
No, because
Steve-
you gotta go do it yourself.
And we give our recipes away for free. We'll let anyone who wants a
absolutely.
recipe take the recipe with them on the way out the door.
That's awesome.
They
That's
can
awesome.
recreate that experience when they get home.
That is awesome. Steve, Dan mentioned piñon, and for people who have not been to New Mexico, not familiar, tell everyone what a piñon is.
Piñon.
Piñon.
Is,
Well, excuse me.
piñon. It's actually a tree. It's called a piñon tree. It's a part of the pine family, and it grows at elevations over 6,500 feet.
Wow.
all over northern New Mexico.
Let's
And
show you.
and then oh, you have, oh, that's right, you
Oh,
will
we
have
can
one
see a
outside.
tree.
You'll have one
Like-
He's gonna
outside
show
here.
us.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And in the fall, the pine cones burst.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And that's where the seeds, that's where the pinon seeds come from. And they're in a very hard shell. They're very
Mhm.
small and they're in a hard shell.
Like a
And they need,
pistachio.
yeah, and harder, yeah, harder. Well, I think they're harder than a pistachio. And they have to be roasted.
Oh,
And they're very, very, very good. They're different from pine. They're a pine nut, but they're different from like the pine nuts you see in Italy and other
Mhm.
places. They're much smaller and they're much more flavorful.
wow.
So I didn't know fall was
Hmm.
their time. That's
Yeah.
that's
And
so
they don't
yeah.
happen. It doesn't happen every year.
Oh.
They do go in cycles. So sometimes you get bumper crops and other times you don't.
Hmm. That's
Wow.
with anything to do with farming, right? And you
Mhm.
know, you're hoping that it's a good wine harvest from our friends in Arizona. It sounds like wine is going to be good this year, that the
Mhm.
harvests are good. So I'm hoping that for New Mexico too, that you guys have, you know, tons of wine coming out of your state because it is the land of enchantment and wine goes with that. But so a lot of events. I want to ask each of you in closing, since you know you're the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. There's how many B&Bs are part of the association, Steve?
17.
17. Okay, so if each of you gonna go take a fall excursion because you all get so much time off as innkeepers, right? But you get to take an actual weekend off. What bed and breakfast would each of you go to for a weekend off this
Ooh.
fall in New Mexico? Where would you go? Let's start with you, Steve.
Ooh, that's hard.
I know, see, but like, I
That's
want people to
hard.
know about all the
You know
other ones
what?
too.
I think I would go up to either the parlor car or Victorian up in Chama, just so I could take the train.
Oh, the
See the
train, huh?
colors. I think that would be great. My second would be maybe be Casablanca in Farmington. The Farmington is
I want to go to Farmington.
oh,
badly.
Farmington is so cool. It's
It
it's
is.
part of the Four Corners area. The Four Corners is where all four states come together. But the fall is a beautiful time to be there because you can go. It's nice to go in the Bisti Badlands, the
That's where I want to
Aztec
go.
rooms, the salmon ruins. It's a day trip to Mesa Verde or Canyon de Chelly. There's just so much, or the Four Corners monument on Navajo land is just amazing. All that stuff is right there, and
Cool.
you're right in the middle of it.
And
It's
they
great.
grow pecans out there, and they do have aspens out there. I mean, it's beautiful. They have aspens out in Aztec
Yes.
Ruins National Park,
Yes.
National Historical Park. I know that from being there. But Aztec Ruins, it's one of our smaller parks, and it is so underlooked at. And I encourage people, if you go to Aztec, go to Chaco. If you go to
It's
Chaco, go
special.
to Aztec. This history is so connected. And it
Mhm.
is, there's no place like it on the planet. It is mystical, mysterious, ancient. You must go. Everybody
Yeah.
must go to these are these, you know, ceremonial sites of the ancient ones. And
Mhm.
we still don't know what was going on, man, but it's a trip. I'm just saying,
But
you
if
can go out
if
there and
you
it's-
read about it before you go, and
oh,
then you go and you almost like meditate or can get yourself like into the history
now
of it.
Nancy's tripping out.
No, well, I do, you know me. You put yourself right where you are. I mean, you're standing where somebody really special stood.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
ancient
And so if
times.
you
Yeah.
can draw that in, if you do your homework first, you get so much more out of the experience. You
Mhm.
really do. So it's
And
really
Farmington, Shiprock is out there too. I mean, I
Yes.
remember going from Gallup to, that's what we did. We did Gallup to Chaco, then Gallup up to Aztec Ruins, and through Shiprock and that whole area, which is Farmington. And I want to do the Bisti Badlands. And that goes back to your area, Dan. You've got those. We went to Bandelier, which is another just
oh, it was cool.
that is like that's world class, like whoa. that
Mhm.
I talk about ancient beings, right? And you've got Pueblo tours out in your area too, but there's also, well, the Manhattan Project is near you too. That's a whole other crazy bit of
Well,
history.
that's
But
different.
listen, New Mexico is so full of history. You could just, you want to trip out, Nancy, trip out for days in New Mexico. There's so much
Yep.
history, but you have that. But then don't you have these tent rocks that are kind of like the Bisty Badlands, like tents? There's these. I need to go. The hoodoo thing is.
Mhm. The
I want to go
hoodoos.
there.
Yep. Kasha Katuwe National Monument, also known as
Ah.
Tent Rocks.
Oh wow,
Right
we need to
between
go.
Albuquerque and Santa Fe. It's beautiful.
Oh, see, that's it. That's a perfect place between the two of you. So
Mhm.
Dan, what bed and breakfast do you want to go to for fall? For
Well,
your
you're talking
weekend
about-
off?
You're talking about all the historical sites. I'm very excited because in October, I'm actually going to be camping at Chaco Canyon for a weekend.
Oh, nice.
So it's not a B&B experience. It's going to be a tent experience, but I'm very excited to
Yes.
get away
Cool.
for that weekend.
Oh my God, you're camping out there. That is so awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Camp-
And then
Camping at Chaco, yeah,
yes.
camping at Chaco is otherworldly.
Yes.
There's no other
can't
way to
wait.
describe it. Mhm.
And then I would probably, I'd love to, one of my favorites is to go visit my friend Christine in Adobe and Pines in Taos.
Awesome.
See some of the leaves up there as well, as in Santa Fe. And probably would love to go visit the Grand Hacienda Estate in Albuquerque.
Yes.
And see that area because it's just, it's O'Keeffe country, it's the painted desert. And I
Mhm.
think it's what people think of when they think of enchanted New Mexico. They think of that territory, and it's only an hour from us here in Santa Fe, and I'd love to visit with them.
Hey,
And you
Dan,
think about fall colors, you can't beat this geology, kind of the colors of the geology, not just the trees, but the colors of the rocks and the hoodoos. And that to me is right
hey,
there.
Dan, have you done the Enchanted Circle
Yes,
out of Taos?
well, I did it before I moved here. Yeah,
Ah,
when
yeah,
we were
that's
actually
another
staying
great
in
way.
Adobe and Pines and did it as a day trip. It's a wonderful.
Mhm.
Hmm.
We did it when last year or year we
Time
did
goes
it
by.
recently, and it's beautiful. It was spring
Mhm.
and it was magical. I mean, there was
Mm.
turquoise waters, there was still snow. Angel Fire, New Mexico has this wonderful memorial, veterans memorial that I encourage people to go to. I'm going to say David
Mhm.
Westfall, and I might not get the name 100% correct, but is it right, Steve? You may know more of that than
I think that's right.
I
I've
think
been there once. It's
it's
very cool.
It's done
very
right.
touching. You don't walk out of there without being, moved.
Mhm.
Mm.
But we saw bighorn sheep right under the bighorn
Ah.
sheep sign.
That was so
Nancy
cool.
took
They're
us,
like, hey.
Nancy, the water, that's what's so trippy is like, you have this red rock and you've got all these oranges and reds.
Mhm.
That's what I say about
It was
fall, right?
amazing.
And then the water in these rivers are all turquoise and blue. So you really
Mm.
have the fall colors in New Mexico.
It's
Even though
amazing.
I can't tell you about being there in fall, the fall colors were there when we were, no matter when we've been there.
Mm.
It's beautiful. But Enchanted Circle, like you're saying, in Chaco, Chaco is one of the night skies. It recognized as an international dark sky place, and I think that's
Mm.
something we should talk about. New Mexico, bed and breakfasts are often in areas where you can experience the night sky, like Casa de Gila, where Becky's
Yes.
place is. You're going to see the night sky. You're going to see the
Mhm.
stars. You're going to see wilderness, nature.
Mhm.
You want to retreat out.
Mhm.
That I would say go out there. We haven't visited her place yet, but being out, you're going to see stars in New Mexico. So it's very cool.
Even at our end in Santa Fe, and we're only a 10-minute walk to the plaza. But we're at 7,200 feet, and
Oh, wow.
Santa Fe has light density regulations, and you can sit out on our patio, and if it's a clear sky, you can make out the Milky Way on many nights. So
Oh, cool.
That's
just because
cool.
of the altitude that you're at.
Right.
That's
Wow.
special.
New Mexico is very special in that regard.
Yeah,
It's
it is
special.
as a whole, and the ancient history. I mean, Steve's
Mhm.
backyard is Petroglyph National Monument. I still
Yeah.
can't believe that. We talked about the last time on the show, but I'm still like, you go down the road and you're going through a city, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's in right outside suburbia. Here's all these ancient petroglyphs, and how did that happen? You guys protected it, and it's amazing. Um, Yeah. Okay. Well, so we're feeling a little homesick for the Southwest now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm with
A
you.
little hungry and a little thirsty. It all sounds delicious and good. I encourage everyone to go to nmbba.org, New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association.org. You want to stay New Mexico true, stay in a bed and breakfast. That's the best thing to do. Again, go to turquoisebear.com and also botger.com and connect with them online, Dan and Steve. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We're here every second Thursday with the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye-bye.
Gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico Bed and Breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org.